So welcome everyone to today's deep dive. We're unpacking a really practical and I think highly effective today.
Yeah, it's all about stop building English sentences word by word.
Yeah, and it's a topic I think is just going to resonate with pretty much anyone who's ever tried to learn a language.
Oh, totally. I mean, I want you to picture a scenario for a second. Imagine you're at this bustling coffee shop in London, right? You've been studying English for years.
Right, you've memorized the vocabulary,
Right.
you've aced all the grammar tests.
Exactly. But then the barista asks you just a really simple question about your order, and suddenly your brain just, well, it turns into a dial-up modem from 1998.
Oh yeah, that dial-up sound, just total mental freeze.
Right, you're just standing there and you're translating in your head like, okay, and then would, and then like
Oh,
you're frantically searching this mental dictionary for every single solitary word before you even dare to open your mouth.
it is an incredibly common and honestly an incredibly painful experience
Oh.
because you have all the puzzle pieces, right?
But you're trying to snap them all together in real time, all while someone is just staring at you, waiting for an answer.
Right. And you end up sounding, like after work I usually go, and it's just agonizing.
You can physically feel the friction in the conversation.
Exactly. You're literally building the sentence one word at a time.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's not just slow, it's exhausting.
It's completely exhausting. And there's a biological reason for that. It's because of how human working memory functions.
Hmm.
Our brains, they have a cognitive bottleneck, basically.
Bottleneck. Yeah.
Yeah. We can only hold a very small number of distinct items in our active memory at one time. It's usually, around 4 to 7 items.
Wow, just 4 to 7.
Exactly.
Sure.
So if you treat every single English word as a distinct item, well, a standard 12-word sentence will literally crash your brain's available RAM.
Oh man, that makes so much sense.
You just max out your processing power trying to arrange the vocabulary.
Yeah.
And that leaves zero mental energy for, the actual message you want to communicate, or your tone of voice, or even reading the other person's body language.
Oh, wait, let's unpack this because what you're saying, it completely flips the script on how we are traditionally taught languages in school.
It really does.
Like, we're usually handed a list of isolated vocabulary words. We learn the word looking as an isolated concept. We learn, as an isolated concept. And then we get this big book of grammar rules and we're told, okay, go combine them.
Right. Good luck.
Yeah. It feels like we're being told to build car from individual screws and bolts while we are already driving on the highway.
That is exactly what traditional language instruction
Yeah.
accidentally does. It forces you to be a real-time mechanic instead of a driver.
Oh, I like that. A mechanic instead of a driver.
Yeah, because if we want to bypass that working memory bottleneck we just talked about, we have to change how we store the language in our brains. We have to move away from isolated words.
And start using what exactly?
We have to start relying on what cognitive linguists call lexical chunks.
Lexical chunks. Okay, so staying with the car analogy for a second. If single words are the individual screws, a chunk is like, what, buying a pre-assembled engine?
That's a perfect way to put it. You don't need to know how every piston works. You drop a whole engine in and you drive.
Right.
A chunk is basically just a small group of words that native speakers naturally and frequently use together. The brain, it really loves efficiency.
Sure.
It doesn't want to calculate the grammatical relationship between I and am and looking, and for every single time, you lose your keys.
Right. That would be exhausting.
Exactly. Instead, it just stores I'm looking for as one single, unbroken concept.
So instead of memorizing the word looking, the source material basically suggests learning the complete chunk, like I'm looking for a new apartment, or I'm looking for my phone.
Yes, exactly. The word looking by itself is practically useless compared to the functional phrase it lives inside. I mean, think about the word like. Don't just learn like. Learn the chunk. Would you like to?
Oh, right. Like, would you like to sit down? Or would you like to order now?
Exactly. When you learn that chunk, a massive percentage of your sentence is already pre-assembled for you.
Wow, yeah. See that.
Your brain only has to retrieve one item from its memory, the chunk, instead of 4 individual words. So, boom, you've just saved 3 slots in your working memory.
And that cognitive relief is what creates the feeling of fluency.
Absolutely.
That is fascinating. It's essentially a hack for your working memory. So for the listener who, wants to apply this right now, how should they change their study habits?
Well, it requires a strict new rule for your vocabulary notebook. Whenever you encounter a new word you want to learn, never ever write that word down by itself.
Okay, never by itself.
Never. Always write down the surrounding words, capture the whole phrase. Context is everything here. You want to store the whole unit in your memory so that when you need it, you pull the whole unit out.
Okay, I love the pre-assembled engine idea. But, an engine alone doesn't really steer the car.
True.
If I just have all these scattered phrases like, I'm looking for, or would you like to, I still need a chassis to put them in, right? To actually have a cohesive conversation, how do we string these chunks together?
Well, this is where we introduce a structural framework. These are often called sentence frames.
Sentence frames.
Okay.
Right.
So if chunks are the engine, frames are the chassis. A sentence frame is basically a template. The core structure stays exactly the same, and you only swap out one or two small parts to inject your specific information.
The source gives a really great example of this. I usually blank when blank.
Yes, that's a classic one.
So the skeleton is fixed, right? You just fill in the blanks. Like I usually listen to music when I'm cooking,
Yeah.
or I usually call my family when I have free time.
Right, exactly. Or another highly functional one is, the reason I blank is that blank.
Oh, okay.
So you could say, the reason I study English is that I want to travel.
Okay, I have to push back on this. I really do.
Oh, go ahead.
Because if I'm just filling in the blanks like I'm playing a game of Mad Libs or something, aren't I just parroting phrases without actually understanding English grammar?
I hear that a lot, yeah.
Like, what happens when I want to say something highly specific or, nuanced? Honestly, relying on templates feels a little like faking fluency. Doesn't using formulas like this make you sound incredibly robotic?
That is the most common fear learners have, for
Mhm.
sure. But it actually revealed a misunderstanding of how native speakers operate.
Oh, really? How so?
We tend to think that fluency means generating completely original, mathematically perfect grammar from scratch every single time we open our mouths. But cognitive science shows us that native speakers do not do that.
Wait, really? Native speakers are just using templates?
Absolutely. When I ask you how your weekend was, I am not consciously accessing the rules of past tense verb conjugation.
Right, you're not doing math in your head.
Exactly. I am relying on a heavily localized neural pathway, a template, one that my brain have used 10,000 times before.
Wow, okay.
By practicing sentence frames, you aren't faking fluency. You are building the exact same localized neural pathways that native speakers use. We call it mouth memory.
Mouth memory. I love that. Like muscle memory, but for your vocal cords and tongue?
Exactly. The physical articulation of English, it has a specific rhythm, right? A specific stress and intonation.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you take a single frame, like the reason I blank is that blank, and you force yourself to make 5 different sentences with it out loud, you are training the muscles in your mouth to remember that grammatical pattern instinctively.
I see. So the goal isn't to be this amazing poet right out of the gate. The goal is to offload the heavy lifting of grammar from your conscious brain to your subconscious muscle memory.
Right. And ironically, this actually makes you sound much less robotic.
Because you aren't freezing up.
Exactly. When you don't have to rebuild the underlying grammar every time you speak, the words just flow out smoothly, with natural rhythm. You sound natural precisely because you are using a reliable template.
Okay, I concede the point. That actually makes a lot of sense. You're building a foundation of reliability. But here is where I still see a massive point of friction.
Okay, what's that?
A frame is great for a standard answer, like, I usually drink coffee when I'm tired, boom, done. But what if someone asks me a really complex question? I can't just Mad Libs my way through a 5-minute story about my vacation.
No, you can't.
Right. A template isn't big enough for a whole paragraph. So if I'm not planning the whole sentence or story before I start, won't I just paint myself into a grammatical corner?
And this is exactly where the system breaks down for most intermediate learners. They try to scale up.
Yeah.
They view a long, complex thought as one intimidating, unbroken line of words. Like this massive mountain they have to summit in a single breath.
Oh, totally.
And because they are afraid of painting themselves into a corner, just as you said, they try to plan the entire sentence before they even open their mouth.
Which brings us right back to the dial-up modem brain crash.
Exactly. The RAM gets overloaded immediately.
Yeah.
So, to tell a longer story or convey a complex thought, you have to abandon the idea of a long sentence entirely.
Abandon it. Okay.
Yes. Instead, you need to use what the source calls idea groups. You basically divide your message into 2 or 3 small, distinct ideas, and you give each idea a very clear job.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I think this completely changes how we visualize the act of speaking. Let's look at the example from the source text.
Yeah.
The sentence is, after work, I usually go to the gym because it helps me relax.
Right. Now, if you look at that as 14 individual words, you will freeze. But if we break it down into idea groups, it becomes incredibly manageable.
Yeah.
Group 1 is simply after work.
And that group's job is just to tell us when.
That's it. It achieves syntactic closure for that specific thought. Then you move to Group 2. I usually go to the gym.
Which tells us what happens.
And finally, Group 3, because it helps me relax.
Giving us the reason. So we have when plus what plus reason, 3 clear bite-sized groups.
Yes. And here's the secret to not painting yourself into a grammatical corner. You don't need a grand blueprint.
You don't.
No. You don't need to know what Group 3 is going to be when you are speaking Group 1. You plan one idea group, you say it, you complete that thought, and then you quickly plan the next one.
It's like trying to cross a really wide, fast-moving river.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, speaking a long, complex sentence isn't like trying to take a running leap across the entire river all at once. If you try that, you're going to fall in and drown in the grammar.
You definitely will.
It's like stepping on stones. You only need to look at the very first stone, your first idea group. You step onto it, you find your balance, and only then do you look for the next stone.
I really like that analogy because it highlights the safety of the method. You say, last weekend, boom, you're safely on the first stone.
Right.
Then I went to the beach with my friends. You step to the second stone, and we had a fantastic time. Final stone,
Yeah.
you're across the river.
Well,
You communicated a complex, natural-sounding narrative without ever panicking because you only processed one stone at a time.
so if we look at our toolbox now, we have these 3 incredible mechanisms. We have chunks, which give us the pre-assembled vocabulary so our working memory doesn't crash.
Right.
We have sentence frames, which give us the localized muscle memory to bypass conscious grammar rules. And we have idea groups, which let us cross the river of complex thoughts one stone at a time.
It's a very powerful system when used correctly.
When used correctly. That's the catch, isn't it? Knowing human nature and knowing how desperate we can get when trying to learn a language, how do people accidentally misuse this? Like, what are the traps here?
Well, there are 2 massive pitfalls to watch out for. The first is confusing a chunk with a memorized script.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes learners hear about this method and they try to memorize hundreds of long, rigid, complete sentences. For instance, they'll memorize a full paragraph just for ordering at a restaurant.
Oh, man. I've seen people do this. They rehearse it perfectly in their head while standing in line. Like, hello, I would like to order 1 large cappuccino with oat milk and a blueberry muffin, please.
Right. And what happens when the cashier says, we're out of oat milk? Is almond okay?
Oh, the whole system completely shatters. Panic mode.
It shatters because memorized scripts are brittle. They're completely inflexible. If the dynamic situation changes even slightly, your script is useless.
That makes total sense.
This is why chunks and frames need to be modular, keep them short and flexible, focus on internalizing chunks like I'd like to, or I'm not sure, or it depends on.
Those are like Lego bricks.
Exactly. You can build anything with them and adapt them to any conversation.
Yeah.
Don't memorize the whole castle.
That makes perfect sense. Modular flexibility over rigid scripts. Now, the source points out a second huge trap, and I know for a fact everyone listening has done this. I mean, I've done this.
Yeah.
It's L1 interference, right? Translating from your native language.
It is the hardest habit for any adult learner to break. Your brain naturally forms a complete, beautifully nuanced sentence in your native language.
Because it's so easy for us.
Right. The neural pathways for your native language are like paved superhighways. So your brain forms the thought there and then tries to map it word for word into English.
But the syntax doesn't map. The idioms don't map.
Exactly. You end up trying to force English vocabulary into a Spanish or Japanese or German grammatical structure. And when you hit a word that doesn't have a direct translation, you freeze.
You just hit a wall.
You abandon the highway, and suddenly you're stuck in the mud. You have to let go of the exact phrasing of your native language.
So what's the alternative then? Like, in that split second when someone asks you a question?
You extract the core meaning of what you want to say, simplify it, and then look in your toolbox for a chunk or a frame that you already know in English.
So don't invent things on the spot.
No, don't try to invent new grammar on the spot to match your native language. Use the reliable tools you already have.
To tie all of this practical application together, the source presents a really great quick exercise. It's a sort of 3-part Sunday challenge to practice using idea groups.
Yes, I love this exercise.
Imagine a coworker asks you on Friday, "What do you usually do on Sunday?"
This is the perfect time to visualize those stones in the river. Don't plan the whole day out in your head before speaking. Just look at the first stone.
Right. Step 1, tell us when. So you step onto the first stone and say, on Sunday.
You're balanced. Now look at the second stone. Tell us what. I usually go for a long walk.
Balanced again. Now step 3, add a reason or a detail. And then I have breakfast at a cafe.
On Sunday, I usually go for a long walk, and then I have breakfast at a cafe. The answer doesn't need to be profound. You aren't trying to write literature here.
Right, you're just talking.
The goal is simply to connect a few highly functional pre-assembled chunks smoothly without stopping to search for words.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Let's distill this down. If you want to stop the agonizing process of building sentences word by word, you need to respect how your brain actually processes language.
Absolutely.
Stop maxing out your working memory with single, isolated words. Switch to lexical chunks. Preassemble the engine. Second, train your mouth memory by using sentence frames.
Use them as templates.
Right, use them as reliable templates where you only change the key information. Offload the grammar rules to your subconscious. And finally, stop looking at complex thoughts as an impossible mountain. Divide them into small, easy-to-step-on idea groups, one stone at a time.
And the beauty of this is, the more often you repeat these patterns, the more heavily myelinated those neural pathways become.
Meaning they get faster.
Exactly. Eventually, you will never need to consciously build a sentence word by word again. It will just be there.
And once you master that baseline reliability, that's when you can truly level up. The source gives us a little preview of this.
Oh, yeah.
Once you aren't terrified of speaking, you can turn those short, smooth answers into longer, genuinely engaging stories by naturally tagging on reasons, examples, and extra details. You just keep adding stones to the river, and suddenly you're having a deep, fluent conversation.
This raises one final, really important implication, though, and it's something I want you to mull over as we wrap up today.
Oh, what's that?
We spent this entire time talking about how chunking and idea groups relieve your brain's processing power when you are speaking. But if it does that for speaking, imagine how this fundamentally changes the way you listen.
Oh, wow. I hadn't even thought of that. That flips the whole paradigm around.
Native speakers talk fast. And if you were trying to listen to them word by word, your brain's RAM is going to crash just as fast as when you were speaking.
Right.
But next time you listen to a native English speaker or, watch a movie or listen to a podcast, try to stop hearing their individual words. See if you can actually hear the chunks, the frames, and the idea groups that they're relying on.
Because they're doing it too.
Exactly. They're using the exact same shortcuts.
You stop hearing a terrifying stream of 1,000 rapid-fire words, and you start hearing a few familiar, manageable blocks snapping together. That demystifies the whole thing. I absolutely love that.
It really does change everything.
Keep an ear out for those chunks, everyone, and start building your toolbox. It's going to change how you experience the language. Until next time, happy listening.